Cool.
All right, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Minisode Episode 2. This is the September tournament, and I'm Juhadre, and joining me tonight is T-Van.
Hello. Hello.
T-Van, you're probably going to get tired of hearing my voice by the end of the night.
We've talked for a lot longer than this, so don't
That's
worry.
true.
Don't worry.
That is true. We definitely did. So, we just finished watching Slick, Salt Lake Community College, take down Team Unknown for the
Mhm.
finals and taking their first, we'll call it gold medal or metaphorical trophy today. And the way they did it was not how other games in the PLC have happened. There was a lot more moving. The top lane was really the story. I want to think the biggest game changers in this game, which is atypical.
Yeah, it's something. So I guess maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but you kind of planted the seed when we were talking before we started this of like the big patch that just happened. 14-18 was a huge patch, world's patch that's coming up, and I my biggest, like, meta read was the mid lane changes, and I thought we are gonna have a lot of active mid laners being picked up, like, Sylas, Taliyah, Ahri, these champs that like to skirmish,
Mhm.
but instead, it was Aurelion Sol that was being, like, really priority, which meant, like, mid was kind of a dead lane, and so then top lane was a lot more active because of it, which I really didn't expect because, like, especially in second game, it was the Malphite it was Malphite versus Garen, and so they
Mhm.
didn't do anything, but then once it got to 5v5 team fighting, that was, like, the decider of these fights. Um,
Yeah.
which usually you see a more mid-centric game, even with champs like Aurelion Sol, but neither team really deciding to play through mid prio, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Well, especially with the way that Death has been able to carry games in the past for Team Unknown. I don't know if you've been able to go through our catalog and watch some of those games, but just watching his Cinder play earlier tonight, it was
Yeah.
bananas. He was dealing super high amounts of damage. He did really well in game number one of actually the top of the day. Ah, shoot, I can't even remember what he played, but it's the same thing. He is an excellent player, and it is weird to see that not come through on this particular set of games.
Yeah, it's something that Rigby said in the interview that's been making me think quite a bit was talking about how they think Aurelion Sol's hard to deal with, which
Mhm.
I think is making me realize that I don't think these teams like really value early game mid skirmishes, which is weird because they play a lot of mid to bot. There was a lot
Mhm.
of mid to bot play, which is like Talia and Ari and Silas's, like, favorite thing to do, but they were doing it with, like, Aurelion Sol, who
Mhm.
usually just wants to sit mid and, like, chill for a bit. I mean, he has the flyover, which can help with plays, but he really doesn't wanna be playing that, like, actively.
No, he
Um,
wants to be farming up the stacks of the Stardust, so
right.
he wants to be in the lane all the time.
Yeah, and same with, like, their jungle picks weren't really, going along with their mid laners, which actually, yeah, Death game 1 with, Shinzo, I thought was like, "Oh, okay, cool, they're gonna be playing active mid laner versus scaling mid laner." That's how you deal with the scaling mid laner is,
Mm.
"Okay, cool, you're gonna play Ren Soul, you're gonna chill for a bit. I'm now gonna play a mid laner that, like, will permafight, and I'm gonna get grubs, I'm gonna get dragon, and because I'm a lot stronger early, we have these big advantages, and then either my top laner or my AD carry is gonna be scaling harder than Aurelion Sol." Um,
And I think that's the big point to take away, at least from our finals, is both Team Unknown and Slick. Their main strategy is to get their marksmen or their bot lane players, however you want to call that, ahead. Or right, Rigby had some incredible plays on the Twitch earlier tonight, and Calavir, infamous in the you know what, we'll call it famous in the PLC for the way that he plays. He draws a lot of bans. The way he works with Kiroro, especially with that Varus Tarek. I don't know if you caught that in the top of the day.
I did, yeah, which I mean, I don't wanna, like I don't know. When I saw that, I was like, "Why are we playing Varus Tarek?" It confused me, quite a bit, especially because they were facing Kais Emilio, which
Mhm.
was another, like, combo of, like, oh, that's fundamentally, those champs just don't work together very well because Kaisa and Emilio wanna do 2 very different things.
Mhm.
Um, Varus Tarek, I mean, it's a sick combo if you, like, are playing into a lot of engage, which, there's a lot of right now in the meta, but,
Right. Well,
um, yeah, it
it's
just
only lost
pulling
once, by the way. They've played it like 7 times, and it's only
really.
lost once. Yeah.
Huh. I mean, hey, not a lot of support mains know how to play against Taric, so I guess that makes sense. To be so honest, supports don't have hands to play against Taric, so
I'll give you that.
me included. That's a weakness I have.
But he's so
But
unique in the way he plays.
yeah, yeah, and he's like deceptively like powerful
Mhm.
early game. Like if you can't dodge a level 1 E, then you lose lane, and that's like the test, right? Is like that's why win rates are really weird to look at because Taric is always really high win rate and support. Um, but it's because A, only the 3 Taric players in the world play him, and B, like because people don't play against him that often, the Taric player usually knows the matchup more, and so
Right.
they're able to play off of those weird like interactions and damage. They know themselves a little bit better. So Varus is the same way. He's very deceptively strong in the lane. Like all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, I got a really good trade." And then all of a sudden he's like fighting back and beating you with like auto WQ, auto E, and then your HP is gone.
So then, looking forward, October is coming up. Our next tournament will be October 19th, and we don't know what's going to happen meta wise, or you know what we can probably guess, right? Because I'm pretty sure 14-19 is going to be the world's patch, right?
I believe 14-18 is actually the world's patch. I
But
believe the
this
one
one
that
right now.
yeah, the one that just came out is the world's patch because world starts next weekend. And
Oh, holy
what
crap! It does, doesn't it?
yeah, and the patch that is gonna come out next is uh a bonkers patch because for God knows why, Riot loves making these big patches, like the big like game-changing preseason patch.
Hmm.
They like doing it like during Worlds rather than waiting for Worlds to be kind of ended.
Yeah,
So I don't know if you've been reading what's been happening, but they're trying to nerf every legendary item, so like a completed item, their
that's
effectiveness to
right.
be reduced by about 25-30% and increasing their cost game wide. Um, and that patch is going to be coming out next,
So
which is yeah.
that's there will be another one between now and our next tournament, so maybe we'll get some extra balance on that. But do you think it might be because they're worried about the power creep coming up again? Like we did have to do a durability update, and
Right.
then the balancing with the runes reforged. Do you think that's one of these things where people are too strong, games are just too much in a certain direction, or what do you think is inspiring that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a question I've been asking myself a lot. It's weird. So it's such an awkward timing, and I'm gonna complain about a little bit more of the timing because right now, I'm making, and I told you about this off like stream and stuff, but
Hmm.
like I've been writing a lot of scripts for like TikToks and a lot of content creation around worlds. And part of it is like I'm really going in depth about the meta, really going in depth about like this new patch that just came out. What do I think is going to happen? Obviously, I can't really like really guess because with the people like BLG going to be at Worlds and HLE, like I, I have no idea what they're going to pick because they're weird teams.
Yeah.
Um, but I've been so focused on what we're about to see that I haven't put a lot of attention onto, like, what this patch is gonna be. I've been kind of ignoring it and pretending it doesn't exist because I don't want it to exist. Um, because I really don't think the game is in that bad of a spot right now.
Hmm.
Um, and what is worrying me is that what I have seen from this new patch is, like, tanks are gonna be really strong.
Mm.
Um, and I've seen this take has been talked about on Twitter, and most of the counterpoints against it are people like, "Oh, well, all the items are being nerfed, so they can't the one class can't show up more." But, like, tanks use base damage more than any other class, like, that's
True.
what tanks do. That's why Cassante is so good, is he has such high base damage. And so, a class that doesn't need items as much as other classes are probably gonna be a lot stronger. And so we're probably I would guess we're gonna have another tank meta, happening in the preseason. I
I,
know that they have a dev diary that is explaining why they're doing what they're doing. I just haven't taken the time to read it yet.
so then, in the case of our games where we have marksman focus and tank top laners almost exclusively, are we going to see more top centric play? Will it be a big enough swing to draw attention up to the top side of the map? Do you think?
Yeah, this is this is the weird thing about this level of play is, like, I don't think that that much should change.
Okay.
Because playing like collegiate, it's around like Diamond Masters is usually what we were scrimming at, and it was the same thing. Like we played during the durability patch. I remember I had a scrim the day of the durability patch. I've
Hmm.
had because a lot of collegiate also is during preseason, which is really annoying. Like
Hmm.
our spring season starts in January, like before ranked season even starts. So I had to play a lot of preseason. And so I would do the same thing I'm doing right now, where I'd kind of freak out about how big and the changes are going to be and how big the meta shifts are going to be. But usually, like the game felt very similar. Um, and obviously, like the changes are a thing, but I don't think the meta is going to change that dramatically because when we were watching pro play, these changes are really dramatic because these players are so good that they make these advantages so much bigger than they actually are. Like
Hmm.
Leona losing 4 armor, if you do the math, that's really not that big. But when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, that is a huge change. And like Leona's probably not going to be as prevalent at Worlds anymore because of 4 armor, you
Hmm.
know? That's not even a
Well,
cloth armor. Like
and that's what I was going to say. Is cloth armor is what 10?
yeah, it's 10.
Yeah. So if you're taking away four, that's 100 gold worth of armor that you're taking
Right.
away, and like that's a minion wave worth. Anyway, we get all deep in that. Whatever. So
Yeah.
not a lot of change, but do you think the chaos will continue to reign, or will there need to be uh some temperament? Let's call it.
Do you mean like on the next patch afterwards?
Well, and see, that's exactly it. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Because I think we're gonna be seeing 2 different games, from 14-18 and 14-19, and this is why I hate when they make these big changes, is because we're gonna be playing a different game than
Hmm.
Worlds are, and it's so annoying. I
Yeah.
I I hate it because I will watch playoffs, and I'll watch, like, semifinals and be like, "Holy crap," like, these players are so good. These picks, that's really cool. I'm learning how to play these champions. Like I'm a Bard one trick, right?
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah. Bard's my favorite champ. I mean, I'm not like one trick, but like that's my favorite champ. And
Hmm.
like I still get excited when Carrier plays Bard because I get to learn something about that champ, right? So when meta picks are being played, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. I learned something about this matchup, or I learned something about this champion that I've never thought of. I want to go into solo queue and play it because surely this champion's meta, right, guys? And then it's a completely different game than I'm playing in solo queue compared to pro. So then it's
Okay.
like, oh, well then like I don't know. It takes another factor out of worlds that makes me a little sad, but
So
anyway.
then let's wrap this up for our teams, the people who are going to be listening to this. If you could give one piece of advice to all of our teams, just one singular piece that they all have to chew through and get what they need out of it, what would you say that is? And before you do that,
Hmm.
let's lay out your qualifications. You are a master tier player. You've been playing the game for a long time. You played competitive collegiate, and you've been doing casting as well. You've got a lot of time and investment into the game. So, in my opinion, your opinion is quite valuable.
Thanks. Yeah, I was around the amateur circuit. Also, I would put it like in collegiate, we if we didn't get seeded like we got to be playing nationals. If we didn't get seeded like shit, like our first round, we faced Niles,
Oh,
fresh off of the LCS. When he
right.
retired, he went straight to collegiate with Maryville, and we got laid out round one. And it was funny because our top laner was literally getting coached by Niles at the time.
Oh, that's so bad.
So, yeah. So yeah, I my biggest thing, and this is a thing with Worlds, also like with these pro teams, is if you are not really good, scaling is king, and that I think that's why Aurelion Sol is so good, is because if you play a really early game comp, like a Lee Sin comp, a Lee Sin Draven comp, and you make a mistake, which you're going to do, like don't pretend like you're T1. I mean, T1 makes mistakes. That's why they don't play they don't play these early game comps.
Right.
T1 plays scaling for a reason. It's because they know that they're gonna make mistakes. They know they're gonna lose lane. Zeus knows that he's gonna get killed on side lane. That's why they play scaling, is because they're able to just like be like, okay, whatever. Like we may have lost this, but we just need 3 items. Just play for this item or play for Baron, you know? Um, so I guess my biggest thing in terms of draft is like play more scaling and be comfortable with scaling. Um, but overall, like have conversations with your teammates rather than telling your teammates what to do. Something at this level of play is that like, and we saw it on the cast, and I would kind of talk about it on the cast, is like we would one player wants to do something, and one person has like this item spike that is really important, like these break holds or the like these breaking points. But the rest of the team wouldn't know about it, and so you'd watch a really good team like T1 would focus on getting that item spike really fast, or like HLE. You can watch any HLE game. They're putting all these resources in one person because they have an item spike right before Dragon because they know that's their win condition. Because they're having a conversation about it. Whereas like teams around here aren't really having conversations with each other. They're more making plays because they play like solo queue. And comp and solo queue are completely different.
All right.
Well,
So then what I'm getting out of that is have conversations with your team about when you are strong and learn how to play early game because everyone else is going to be scaling.
no, I would no. I would say play scaling. I would recommend people to play more scaling, and learn how to scale. I talked about it in the pre-show before the my first cast, but um, you don't just scale by doing nothing. You actually scale by doing a lot. And that is something that is a skill, is learning how to scale. So what I mean by that is like being proactive so that you can have space. So knowing when you can trade on the other side of the map, knowing when you can take a dragon because the enemy team is playing grubs. Um, so I would recommend people also playing scaling because you're gonna make a mistake too.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's gonna be teams like we saw on the last game, Team Unknown played a really early game centric comp that would fall off a cliff, and it did. You know, you could feel it. You could feel it when like there was one team fight, Slick won because they just outplayed a team fight, and just from there, because their team is just a lot better on 3 items, they just couldn't fight back. Team Unknown could not fight back at that point. So
All right, guys, you heard it here. Learn how to scale, not to play scaling picks, but how to scale. T-Ben, thank you very much for the cast and for being here with me for just a few extra minutes. I hope that you have a beautiful night. Everyone has a beautiful night. And we will catch you all in October.
bye bye.